Hey guys, how's it going? I'm Alejandro Perez, the CGI Nerd. In this video, we're creating a tree swing, and it is going to be using the Vellum solver to be able to make it dynamic and be able to swing around with a little bit of wind resistance and whatnot. So that is what we're doing in this tutorial. Also, if you wanted to see a more advanced version of this where I create a rope bridge, I have that available as a premium tutorial on the Patreon page. So check that out there if you're interested in that as well. All right, let's get started. To start off this project, I have this little scene. I have a camera, some lights, and the grass that I have here. The main scene is all in here, so I'm gonna jump in here, and I organized it all into subnetworks so that way I can not confuse you with extra nodes in the scene that are not directly related to the swing. So let's get started creating that. I want to first create the overall ropes and the swing and stuff like that in the scene. So I'm going to start off by creating a line, and let's move the origin a little bit up, and you'll see kind of that is the line there, and I'm going to make it set up onto this branch that is going across right here. So just have to kind of go around and adjust the positioning until I get something that is actually, it might be easier to go in a top view. So I pushed spacebar and 2 over this viewport, and you can see where that is. I'm going to move it in the X. See it moving here, and then the Z is up and down right here, so you can kind of get it close. And then I'm going to go back to the perspective viewport, spacebar 1, and let's start tweaking this. So looking over here, right and left is the X, so I want to get it closer. Oopsies. There we go. And then now here, forward back is the Z. Oops, I'm in the wrong branch. I wanted to do this branch, so let's go in the other direction. It should be right here. That is getting really close. There we go. And then I can think about the height of the swing, and this is still a little bit high, so I can move it down. There you go, that looks good. Let's merge everything for right now. And eventually we'll not have it merge, but then we'll bring it merge. It's just going to be a little bit easier for me to visualize right now. But I have that one, and looking at kind of how high it is, it's probably still too high. So let's take this and bring it down. Oops. That looks pretty cool, like where a kid might be able to reach it. So now that I've adjusted that, I have to adjust the length so that it is long enough. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to, I could create another line here. But what I'm just going to do is take a transform, since I already have that line, and then I'll bring it in together there. I want to move it more in the X, and let's say it's like, I don't know, about 1.5 feet or something like that. So this scale is a little bit off, so let's put it like 0.2. I like that there. The height over here is just a little bit too long, so I could adjust it here, but it's so little bit that it probably will be covered by the rope. That it's like, we'll do another geometry that will cover, like, if it's tied up in that section. But let me see if I can take the length and just slightly adjust it so that it's good for both. It looks like that is good for both. Great. Okay, so right now if we look at the points, and let me bypass this for right now, and actually we don't need the grass so that we can work a little bit faster. Let's hide that. Okay, so we have these pieces of rope right here. Let's look at the points. So we only have 2 points. If we want this to dynamically be able to move, we need more points. So let's go in and add, let's say maybe 20 points. It gives us a little bit of flexibility. And I can turn off the points now. Okay, so now I want to be able to get a plank, a little piece of wood for the swing, and we're going to simulate that as well. So what I'm going to do is make sure that it is just a flat grid, and I'm going to limit the geometry down to 2 and 2, and then let's bring this much smaller. Get it kind of roughly positioned. Then scaled down. So let's go ahead and put this into the scene here, and I'm gonna go into a I think, yeah, this is the front viewport, so it's space 3, just so that I can get the positioning exactly right. I can probably do it like numerically, but I'm just gonna eyeball it this time because I don't need it to be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to push spacebar 1, and then pull this forward there, and we can even make this a little bit thinner like that, and that looks great. Okay, so now that I have the geometry that I want for the swing, and I have it positioned right, I'm going to push and hold Y. It gives me the scissors, and I'm just going to cut all the connections for now so that we can work on this side. We're going to end up merging all these together because we are going to make all this vellum simulation. So we have the transform, and then we also want the line in there. So that is everything that we need for the swing. What I want to do is create another merge node to be able to organize it a little bit better. So what I want is for it to go through here. So it's going to go through this merge, so that way it's all the ropes in here. And what I want to do on the top end before I split it off is create a group so that I know the point that I can actually pin. So let's create a group here. Actually, I want to do a group by range. So what this will allow me to do is select the point number. And then let me push Y. There we go. It's going through here, and then we'll connect it back over there. So we want to get this group first, and this is going to be the pin point. And the pins are basically going to be the part of the curve that is actually going to be locked in place, because it's going to be swinging, and this part's never going to be moving. We want to pin it so that it stays locked in that position. Okay, so right now we have the pins, or this group, set to primitives, and I want it to be points, and we can see that it selects all the points that we have. If I increase the start, you can see that it goes up the chain here. So, and if I have it at 0, it starts over here. There's actually a variable that we can use. It's $ number of points, so NPT. And if you do that, we should get an error. The reason being is that when we're actually working in the scene here, the number of points is the total number of points, but it's when you actually start counting, it starts at 0, so it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what we can try to do is just subtract 1 from the total number of points, and that's going to get us to the equal number, which is still too much, so let's do -2. And that is not working, so let's break the connection here. There's another way we can do that. We can do it by the range here, so $ number of points, what's the error that it's giving me? Undefined variable. Am I just using the wrong variable? Let's double check that. So let me go back in here and do $ NPT. So we have a line here. It should give us the number of points because we have a whole bunch of points here. $PT. $NPT. So we can see that it's not picking up that variable at all. NPT. Interesting. Okay. Well, just to make this easier, since we don't need it to actually be an expression, I was just hoping I can use it as an expression. I thought I did something like that recently. I'll just take this, and what I will do is copy this parameter, which is the total number of points. And then here we can do paste relative reference and add to the expression -1. So it gives us the top point. So that will work as well. I was just hoping to do it with the NPT, but this works. So now we can see that we have that pinpoints that we can use for our group. At the bottom over here we have the base, and on the base where the actual swing is going to be, we'll use a different method to connect these two together because we want it to actually be able to move. We just don't want it to be locked into that world space. So the only points that we want locked are these top ones over here. Okay, now that we have that, let's turn this to vellum cloth. Vellum. So what I want is constraint. And also, actually, we need to create a group over here. We can just do a normal group on this side, and we'll call it swing, or let's call it plank, because it's kind of the base plank shape that we have here. Okay, so, and now that we're doing that, we should probably do one for the ropes. So do group here, and then we need rope. Okay, so in this vellum constraint, we are going to assign the ropes, and that's why we just created the groups that we did. So that in this one right here, let's switch it over to a string solver. And the geometry we want to assign it to is the rope. And then let's create a vellum solver. And we'll connect all of this together here. And if we push play, we should see it all work right now, so we can see that it's being affected by gravity. Now, what we want to do is take the vellum constraint that we have here, and we created the pinpoints. So let's assign the pinpoints that we created and the group. Cool. And then let's push play, and we should see that it all works. It actually stuck together with this other geometry. It can cause issues with the way that we did it here, so I'm going to make sure that we do a little bit cleaner version, but it's kind of working already, so that's cool. Okay, so let's create a vellum cloth constraint, and we'll just throw it in here. And on this one, we're going to set the group to plank. So we're going to simulate this as cloth, but because we have only a total of 4 points, it's not going to bend. And it's going to act like a stiff plank. Okay, and now let's do attach to geometry. Again, it's kind of working, but I want to make sure that even when we put some like stronger forces and things like that, that it won't break. So we want to attach the plank, and oh, so it's not attached to geometry, sorry, wrong node. We want the vellum constraint, yeah, we want a vellum constraint we'll put that in here. And this vellum constraint, we'll switch it to glue. And then the group, we want to glue the plank to the rope. So that should show us the glue constraints that we have here. We push play. Should still kind of work the way that we had it. But I do want to change some settings because right now if this connection does break, it's not going to really, it's going to kind of flip sideways. So what I want to do is over here where it says constraints per point, it says 1. Let's increase this to 2. And we can see that it grabs each corner there. So that's going to create a more stable connection there. So we have that connection going on now, which is what we want. And then let's go in the Vellum solver and on forces. Gravity is fine. I'm going to add some wind in the X and Z axes, and what I'm going to do is just base it off of the frame number. So I'm going to say that the wind is going to be a random number generated by the frame, so $F. And then I'm going to do the same thing in the Z, but what I can do to kind of seed this value is like multiply it by a number so that it is offset from whatever this is being blown there, and that should give us a little bit of a wind for the swing so that it doesn't just kind of like stay static and it's actually kind of moving slightly in our scene. So that's cool. Now let's look at getting some thickness in the plank and on the ropes. So what we can do is a Vellum Post-Process, and in this Vellum Post-Process what I'm going to tell it that I want to do is thicken. So that gives us a thickness here for our plank, and we can adjust it there. And all of this eventually will be merged in. Now we want to have the ropes as well. If we want, we can also be kind of prudent to do a color. And we can assign kind of a brown color to that plank. We can make adjustments if we feel like we needed to. There you go. So we have that plank there, and then we can do a polywire. What the polywire will do is give us thickness on the edges that we have here, but obviously it's doing it on everything that we have. So we can actually filter it by ropes, because we still have that group. We have rope, and now we only use those two. Obviously the radius is way too thick, so we can bring that down. And I am going to make this okay 0.5. I like that, and I'm gonna add more divisions going around. I mean, it's really small, but that is okay. We can connect this here if we want, so we can see it all together. I'm going to add a color to the rope so that it's different. So here I can take it and make it kind of a lighter color than we had for the wood, and then just filter it by rope. And that's not applying to the polywire, so let's try to put it after we do the polywire. And do that there, and then you can see that we have the two different tones now. So we assign it to everything, and then we reassign it to the wires there. And let's look at the whole scene and play the animation. Oh, I have some animation on the tree too, because I was gonna do some leaf work, but this tutorial is just on the the swing. So that is working properly. If we wanted to, we can do some like toruses. And do that, bring the radius kind of down, say 0.02, 0.02. Move that over, move it up. So basically I'll put it like over here as a representation of it being tied around the tree. And then we need to move it forward into Z. There we go. Let's see. Nope, not that way. We want it 90 degrees this way. And then let's move it on the X. Oops. There we go, a little bit lower. And then, not that one, but this one. There you go, something kind of like that. And then just positioning it a little bit better. And we can put that there. And then I'm just going to copy the color so that it's the same color. So I just did a Control C, Control V. And then let's do a transform. I'm going to connect the torus. Oops. There, and then let's do another merge. And I'm going to connect that there. Actually, it should happen before the color, so let's take that, shaking it. Yeah, it didn't connect correctly. We'll just reconnect it by hand. This one and this one. There we go. And here we can just move it on the X direction. And just going to move it slightly up. And maybe just a tiny bit on the uniform scale, just so that way we can get it where it's going through the whole thing. Okay, So now when we're looking at it at the shot, I mean, we're not going to be close in on it. If we were, it might be worth it to do more details, but at the distance that I'm planning for this shot, going here, it's going to generate the grass for a moment. There we go. So we have the little swing attached to the tree. Yep. That's how you get it done. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. See you guys in the next one. Bye.